May. Today I'm working on bowl covers and I'm going to walk you through my sourdough making process. I have needed to make some bowl covers for my sourdough for a very long time and I don't know why I waited so long, but today's the day. So I'm going to be covering this bowl and another glass bowl that I thrifted. The materials that I'm going to be using today, I'm going to use gingham, I'm going to use green gingham and blue gingham. I've got matching thread, elastic, and measuring tape. So those are the tools I'll need for my bowl covers.
Starting with your fabric doubled over, so we can cut two at once. You're gonna flip your bowl upside down and trace all the way around it. I am using a fabric pen that dissolves when you get it wet, but you can use any pen you have. After tracing, I'm going to measure 2 inches away from this tracing line, making notches all the way around. You can connect those notches or just cut around, and we should end up with 2 identical pieces. We will place them right sides together. This will get turned inside out eventually. And then we need to pin all the way around, leaving a small 2 to 3 inch gap, which is where the elastic will go in. Here I'm making my gap. And then we will sew all the way around. I'm going to sew with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Starting at the second pin, sewing with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, I'll do a forward and back stitch. Sew all the way around. And finishing at that second pin with a forward and back stitch. After this, I'm going to use my pinking shears to cut all the way around. This helps the fabric not to fray and also to be a little more flexible when we turn it right side out. You can cut little slits all the way around. You can overlock or use a zigzag stitch or leave it as is. And then we will turn it right side out. And give it a nice press with our iron. You'll want to make sure to fold this hem to the inside and then we'll press. We are going to create a tunnel for the elastic to sit in. So again, we will block off that gap. And then my elastic is about 1/4 inch wide, so I'm going to sew at 1/2 inch seam allowance. Again, starting at the second pin with a forward and back stitch. Using a 1/2 inch seam allowance, I will sew all the way around till I get to the second pin, ending with a forward and back stitch. Next up, we are going to measure our bowl circumference. So placing the elastic around the rim, pulling taut and overlapping your elastic by 1 inch. We will cut that elastic. And then using a safety pin, we will send the elastic through the casing or the tunnel, pushing the elastic through, pulling the fabric over, and repeating until it pops out the other side. I had my nephew with me today, so it gets a little chaotic.
Hold on.
But we are going to overlap our elastic by 1 inch and sew these pieces together with a zigzag stitch. Moving forward and back several times to stabilize and make sure the elastic stays together. We'll turn our stitch setting back to a straight stitch. My nephew was not into this.
No. Not again.
We are going to stretch the fabric over the elastic and sew the whole shut. Sewing very close to the edge, forward and back stitch. Close up the gap. And voila!
Sourdough making is about a 3-day process, at least it is for me. I've only been doing it for like a year, so I'm not a pro, but I'm really happy with how my bread turns out. This is the method that works really well for me. So starting on day 1, I got it out of the fridge this morning to get it to room temperature. I keep it in the fridge because I only use it about once a week. So this is what it looks like after it's sat for a week. I'm gonna mix it up and then leave it for about an hour to get to room temperature. After my starter has come to room temp, I need to feed her. I've got my starter, flour, salt, water, a jar that is the same size and weight that my starter is in, and a scale. So first I tare my mason jar and then pour out my discard until I have about 100 grams of starter. So I poured it out until I had 100 grams of starter, poured in 100 grams of water, and 100 grams of flour. Mix that up, and then I'm going to leave it at room temperature until it ferments and bubbles and just about doubles in size. That's what this rubber band is for, just so I can see that it has doubled. In the summer, I can usually leave it on the countertop, and then in the winter, I like to put it on my espresso machine just so it can stay warm, because we need the yeast to eat the flour and ferment and grow. So you do need it in kind of a warm area. So sometimes I'll put my oven on warm, turn it off, and then leave it in there to rise. That works as well. Just needs a little warm space to ferment and get bubbly. So got her out, I fed her, and then next up, once she's ready, I'm going to mix up my loaf. And the way that I test if she's ready is I grab a glass of water, about a teaspoon of my starter, and set it in the water. If it floats to the top, that tells me that it's ready. If it sinks to the bottom, it still needs time. This means that she's ready. So now it's time to mix up my bread. So I will put my bowl on my scale, tare it, and then I'll add 375 grams of water, 100 grams of starter, and whisk that together until it's incorporated. After that, I'll add 500 grams of unbleached flour. Mix that well. And set it aside. I'm going to cover it with a damp washcloth and let that sit for about 30 minutes. This phase is called autolyzation. Can't explain it all to you, so I won't, but we'll let it sit. After about 30 minutes, we're going to add 9 grams of salt and do our first set of stretches.